My guy in the building, none other than that guy, Kerry Mickens. What's going on, Mr. Mickens?
Hey, good evening. How's everybody doing?
Hey man, we doing well. I'm super excited because we got a super special guest in the building. I need you guys to start putting your hands together because we got none other than Coach Tai Dillard in the building this evening. Hey, Coach Tai, how you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. How are you guys?
Man, listen, we're excited. We're excited, man. As soon as we saw AD Golf, you know what I'm saying, introduce you over on May 1st, we were ready, right? We locked in, loaded, ready to go. Excited to have you, obviously, on campus, especially somebody who knows the area, knows Texas, right? So we super excited about what's about to go down. But I know my guy, Kerry, he's going to be leading us out today. But I just want to ask, just before we get into it, right, and kind of go through your past and your resume and what your plans are for PV Nation, I want to get your thoughts just on how do you feel about where women's college basketball, not just women's college basketball, but the women's professional, right, basketball as well, especially here in America with the WNBA. How do you feel about seeing the growth of where it has grown to from the time of when you were playing with the Silver Stars all the way now to today?
I'm always excited to see the growth that women's basketball is taking on. Again, when I was in high school, middle school, high school, there weren't a lot of opportunities to watch a lot of women's basketball. And so now with the WNBA growing as much as it has, with the Unlimited League and just all the opportunities that women's basketball players are getting, it's really an exciting time. And I think, I want to encourage a lot of people just to continue to help grow the game and keep supporting the game, keep supporting, our young women as they're playing this game.
Yeah.
But it's exciting to see, especially with, even all the, I guess, the intensity and the competitiveness and the other things that are going on in the game and off the court and on the court. It's part of the game, and it's exciting to see. And so I'm just,
and hey, listen, that's a part of it, right? All the conversations around sports, and the more you get eyes on it, right, it's the more all type of conversations you're gonna have about the sport, about the players, even, right? So really, it just comes with the territory of like kind of growing your league, growing your platform or growing your program, right? You know what I mean? The more eyes on it, the more good, the more bad, the more ugly, right? But it all comes with the territory.
Any publicity is good publicity, so it's bringing a lot of attention, regardless, what's going on. It is bringing attention to the game, so it's a good thing.
Yes. Yeah, and we find that the women basketball players are more skilled, and people are just now noticing the physicality. But when my sons played basketball, we would go watch the ladies play, and they were more physical than the guys. Women really are physical with each other, and
they are. We are. We are, and I think it's because we do take it serious, just because we do realize that some people do doubt that the ability that we have, and they doubt the competitive spirit that we have, and it's not anything intentional on the court. It's just part of the game. It's just the natural competitiveness. We all want to win. We want to win every play, and we want to win every game. So we're going to do what we have to do to make that play to win the game and win that moment.
So how did you get adjusted so far to Prairie View? Do you feel the support, and are we
definitely
getting you in pretty good?
Yeah, I definitely feel the support. It's this past month, every day is a lot of work, which is good. And I'm getting adjusted and getting acclimated to everything on campus, trying to build things for our program, build our team, build our staff. And so it's been an exciting month. Even prior to being announced officially, I was on campus at least a week before, and even before getting announced and getting on campus, I was already still kind of working for the team and trying to get some pieces together for our team and for our program. So, the work doesn't stop. And I think as a college coach, and any college coach can tell, regardless of the level, the work never stops. And so I'm just every day trying to grind and get what I can get in and build this team and build this program for our fans, for our alumni, for our school. And so it's been exciting. And the work's been great, and I'm just blessed and trying to get it together.
Yeah, and the funny thing, and we talked to the football coach about the same thing. Everybody thinks, they think of Prairie View and they're like, my kid could play there, but everybody can't play for Prairie View, and I guess that's the kind of thing that I really like to communicate, even with the women's basketball. Everybody can't play there. I noticed the teams now at Prairie View are taller than I remember. And so a lot more competitive because more people are playing tournament ball in high school, and even younger than that is tough because of basketball. If you haven't started by 4th or 5th grade, you're way behind. So tell us a little bit about a prototype that you like when you're recruiting for the women's basketball.
Recruiting, there's some foundational things that it really boils down to looking for players that are competitive, that want to win. You can see it in their eyes and in their action on the court that they're doing whatever they can to win, on top of their skill set. But I think with the skill set, there's a lot more things that you can develop as you are progressing in the game. But, as a coach, and a lot of coaches talk about this, a lot of players, or the things we really look for in a player is a dog type of spirit. And that's just that spirit of, I'm trying to win this play. Like, I'm going to do what I need to do to win this play. So, looking for that. And then also looking for, as we get to know the player, looking at their character, because we all want good kids coming in, good character kids, just because they're representing our university. And when they go off and graduate, we want them to be productive people and not just kind of go along to get along as they are getting older. So again, the discipline, competitive spirit, and their character, and then the skill set, again, we can keep developing that and figuring out how that's going to fit into the system that we have in place on both ends, offensively and defensively.
Oh, okay. And so as far as how they fit, without giving away too much strategy, do you like to pressure the ball, or do you like them to come to you and kind of smother them in the half court, or how do you guys like to run your system?
I believe in throwing different types of defenses out. So, but the main thing is you're going to get out there and play defense, regardless of what defense. You are going to play defense. So we'll have a variety of defenses, but you've got to go out and know that defense is going to spur a lot of what we do offensively. If you're not playing defense, it's going to be hard to get on the court, because we've got to play defense, and we've got to play it well and be connected as a team on the court defensively.
Yes, because I noticed you can swing a score. Well, yourself, basketball is a game of momentum, and you can really swing a game by playing good defense, because you can score in seconds instead of trying to bring it up court. Yeah,
exactly. You throw a press on the team within a minute. If you're down 10, you could be down 2 or tied up within that minute, based on the defense that you're playing.
And how do you feel about the transfers? I noticed you brought some really nice looking freshmen in, and that really helps you when you're trying to build an actual program instead of a quick fix. And so I think that some of those freshmen look like they'll be able to help you pretty early. But what do you think of the transfer portal? How does it affect women's basketball? Is it as tough as it is with football as far as trying to bring people in?
I think with the transfer portal, sometimes it could be a blessing. Sometimes it can, hinder you. But I think, you bring in the right transfers, they can help you. I do think that, I know I've always been like, as a recruiter, it's like, okay, the way the transfer portal is, let's just, try to, not burn a bridge, because, even, there may be a transfer situation there. And so if you bring in a transfer that you've previously recruited or no, that's a great situation. When you're bringing in transfers that you're just getting to know, the biggest thing is building a bond with them so that they understand what your expectations are for the year or 2 years that they're there. And then you understand, what they're looking for out of this situation as well. So it just depends on the situation when it comes to transfers. But like you said, when you are bringing in younger players, freshmen, even transfers that are just finishing their freshman year, you can, build a program off of that, because they have time to really buy into the system that you have in place with your program. Okay. But again, it depends on the situation.
And I see you had you've been in Texas a while. I noticed you had a playing career at Texas. Can you tell us a little about that, and what was that experience like?
Oh yeah, at UT, I'll be honest, growing up, the University of Texas wasn't a program that was talked about a lot in my household. Both of my parents attended HBCUs. My dad graduated from Howard. My mom started off at Howard and then graduated from the University of Maryland. But as a player growing up in high school, the high school that I went to, we had a few upperclassmen that, they played at Southeastern Louisiana. And then I got hooked on the University of Texas through my volleyball coach, because her daughter played volleyball at UT and was one of their superstars at UT. So she would take us every year to the University of Texas at Austin. So throughout my high school career, my volleyball coach, she will say that she, put a bug in Coach Conrad and my assistant coach's ears at UT, along with, them seeing us play in the summer during our AAU season. But I will say, getting to know UT and learning about the school came about through going up there to watch volleyball. I even went to volleyball camp at UT. I didn't go to any basketball camps, but went to volleyball camp at UT. So that's where, the knowledge and getting to know UT came from. But, once I got there, it was definitely a wake-up call when I got there. I graduated high school and I was Miss Basketball for the state of Texas. So I go in my freshman year thinking, oh, I'm going to play. I'm going to learn everything. I'm going to play. I didn't start playing until the middle of conference my freshman year because it was an adjustment getting used to that level of play. I mean, the players were faster, stronger. The Big 12 was a very competitive league. And so I really had to hone in on being disciplined and learning, what my coach was really looking for, what my new role was going to be, because coming out of high school, it was offense. I played defense, but coming into college, my role shifted and I became a defensive specialist, and offense was, my offense came off of what I could produce defensively. So I hung my hat on that throughout my college career. After my freshman year, getting adjusted to what the expectations were, I really worked my butt off that summer going into my sophomore year, and then came back and was starting my sophomore year. And kind of just took off from there. I had my injury at the end of my sophomore year going into my junior year. And again, that was also an experience to where I could really learn the game more, because I had to take a step back and start over. So once I came back off my injury going into my senior year, it was really a mindset of, this is your last year. You just got to go all out. And, that last year it was a memorable year because, we were really connected as a team. We had really great chemistry. Our leadership was great. And so that year we ended up winning our conference tournament, getting to the Final Four. And, that really, it's really attributed to us, making a decision that summer that we're going to be connected and, just work hard towards that goal to get to the Final Four that year. So again,
that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think also your patience paid off, because nowadays, and no knock against today's players, but a lot of players come in, like you said, you were Miss Basketball. They would be impatient, and after that freshman year would be in the portal. But you staying patient and staying with the class that you came with, I would imagine you all developed chemistry toward the end, and that's what really propelled you.
Yeah, it was, I think the transfer situation then was, if you transfer, you sit out a year, and now, you get automatic eligibility. But, I think with transfer, it just depends on the situation too. But I do believe that, with challenges, it helps build a character in you. And so it's just you trying to decide, how I'm going to face this challenge. Am I going to be patient and wait my turn? But if if it comes to a situation where, okay, I've been patient enough, then I need to make some decisions. But, freshman year is always a big learning year. And so I do encourage a lot of freshmen to be patient that year.
Yeah, that's good. So what do you think of your college career that propelled you to the WNBA? Was it the defense?
I'll be honest. I think it was my defense, and I think it was just, my work ethic. When I went into the training camp, I wasn't drafted. And so I went into training camp. I just told myself, just go hard. My biggest thing was my speed and my defense. And so I really wanted to utilize that. I think I had a great opportunity to push some of the veterans that were in our training camp, like Jennifer Azzi and Marie Ferdinand, pushing them in practice. So I think that's what really helped me in training camp when I was there with the Silver Stars.
Wow. So what was that like back then in the career? I mean, I know it wasn't like it is now, but it still had to been a lot bigger than when you were in college.
You talking about life at UT or life in the WNBA?
Well, life as a WNBA player.
Oh my goodness. So I will say, as a player at UT, we you get used to a routine. Game day, you have shoot around, you go to team pregame meal, the team picks you up to take you to the game. My first week in the WNBA, we were in Los Angeles for a preseason scrimmage. So I'm leaving shoot around, and I'm like, okay, so where are we going for our pregame meal? Is the bus picking us up? What time is pregame? And they were like, oh, you're on your own. Just be back on the bus. So I'm sitting here like, what am I supposed to eat for pregame? I'm used to, food being prepared. We got a meal. We know what we're eating. I had to order room service, and that was like $50. So for me, I was like, man, I can't spend $50 for a pregame meal. So that was my my welcome to the WNBA. And then at that moment, I was like, okay, Ty, you got to grow up really quick. You need to figure out what your game day routine is after shoot around that morning. So, but
wow,
once I got into the rhythm, I figured things out, and I got back into my typical game day rhythm that I had in college.
Yeah, like Lionel said, $50 in 2003. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
it was funny because I remember Jennifer Azzi was my roommate, and then a lot of the players played overseas, and so a lot of the older players still kind of had they'd wake up in the morning, go have cappuccino, croissants, and all that good stuff. I'm like, can I get a McDonald's sausage biscuit?
Right. Jack in the Box.
Right. What's for breakfast? But when she told me, oh yeah, you're on for pregame, I was like, okay, I guess I'll order room service. I don't know how to navigate Los Angeles by myself. I'm only 22, 23 years old. How am I supposed to get around in Los Angeles? Goodness. And this is before Uber, so yeah.
Oh yeah, taxi was gonna cost you back then.
Yeah, so I was like, let me just order room service.
So did you ever experience the overseas ball during your WNBA?
I did. I played in Israel 2004. I went to Israel, played for a team, Maccabi Tel Kabir. It's like a small suburb right outside of Tel Aviv. And I had a really great experience playing overseas. I thought Israel was probably the best overseas introduction for myself because everyone speaks English over there. So it was a very easy transition. We had like 3 Americans per team. And so it was great. I will say overseas was an experience in that I wanted to keep doing it, but then I didn't because my younger brother was like in 4th or 5th grade, and I didn't want to miss him kind of growing up. And so I think I came back, played another year in the WNBA, and then I started coaching at the high school level. But and not to say anything bad about myself, but they party hard overseas, and so I was like, okay. We used to partying like this over here. I mean, we're coming in when the sun's coming up. So I said, okay, no, I need to get back home. This is not for me. So
I guess that might be related to Lionel's question about what was your most memorable WNBA experience or game?
Oh, let's see. I think the most memorable game probably I think we played the Sparks at home in San Antonio, and I think I scored 11 points. I was, in my mind, I was balling. You were doing the rhythm. Yeah, I was like, oh man, I feel good. So I think that was probably my most memorable experience. But I honestly think just overall the relationships I developed with my teammates. I'm still very close and connected with a lot of my teammates: Marie Ferdinand, Sylvia Crawley, Samika Randall. Samika's head coach at Winthrop. Sylvia Crawley, she was the head coach at Boston College some years ago. Now she does a lot of speaking. And then Marie Ferdinand, she runs, like a development deal for younger players. So I'm still very, very connected to them. And I just really think my overall experience just in the league, and then a lot of the things that I kind of gathered and gained from the coaches I played for, I'd say D Brown that played for the Celtics. That was probably the hardest training camp I'd ever been a part of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, just picking up different coaching tactics and learning from them as coaches was probably just a great experience overall.
Oh, okay. And I did see you picked up one coach so far, your assistant coach. Is that one of your teammates? And also,
no, so funny thing, Planette Pearson, she's from Houston as well. She played at Texas Tech. And so our relationship, she and I were both up for Miss Basketball our senior year. And so I remember going to the TABC All-Star. We had our TABC All-Star weekend, and that's when they announced, who got Miss Basketball. And it was, she and I were up for it. But, going and playing against her when she was at Texas Tech, and I tell a lot of people this, she was one player that I could not stand because she talked so much trash on the court, but she could back it up. She was a baller, and so she backed it up. So when I saw that she was available, and I called her up and I said, I know we only know each other through playing. We've never hung out. We don't, I just met her, through basketball. So calling her up to see if she wanted to come on board with me and build this program, when she said yes, I was, head over heels, just because I know what her competitive spirit is. I know what she brings to the game. I know the experience that she has. And so I was really excited to have her join my staff and help me build this program.
Oh, okay. And what are some of the things you've learned as your other coaching stints, like UTSA and also being at U of H, that you want to bring to your head coaching position?
Yeah. Well, I think each coach, again, brought something different. When I was at UTSA, that was my first collegiate experience. And so I learned from Coach Blair, rest in peace. I learned, managing a team. But the one thing that I really do appreciate and I do take serious and take to heart that I learned from her was just her ability to really bring the team together. She was very motherly for the team, great coach. But when I say we'd always had a Christmas outing at her house, Halloween, Easter.
Wow.
We always had something at her house, which is great because, you still want that family feel. I mean, home cooked meals. She would cook everything. It wasn't catered in. She'd cook everything. We'd have pool parties at her house. And so I think that that motherly feel that a lot of players need when they're away from their parents. I'll definitely, take that from her. Coaching at USC, just the professional approach that Michael Cooper kind of brought to coaching, as well as, I was able to build my network as far as high school and AAU coaches when I went out to USC to coach. When I was at Ole Miss, again, building my network of coaches and resources from working for Matt Insel while I was at Ole Miss. And I learned a different approach to coaching and recruiting, working in the SEC, coaching the SEC, because it's a very, very tough league to recruit and coach in. So I learned a really hard-nosed approach in that league. And then at U of H at Houston with Coach Huey, he really, throughout my years, allowed me to really experience a lot of decision making for the team, and really using my voice and bringing a lot of ideas and drills and different things to the team that would help me as I prepared to be a head coach, as far as decision making and managing team stuff.
And that's the thing. I think sometimes when people are the assistant, they don't get a chance to really pay attention to the managing of the team, because it's a lot that goes into it. you got the clearinghouse they got to get through, make sure that their GPA,
Yes.
it's more than just going out there blow the whistle. So it's good to hear that you got to
It's a
experience.
lot. Yeah, and I really encourage a lot of younger coaches to, even before you get into college coaching, coach a high school team, coach a middle school team, because again, you have to learn how to manage individuals. You have 15 different personalities that you're managing. If you can figure out everyone's personality, then you know how to approach them as a coach on the court. They know they know you're really invested in them when you know what triggers them and what motivates them.
Yeah, that's good. And it's good that you took from your first coach about the personal part because, well, as you found out, it's only 45 miles from Houston, but Prairie View is pretty remote. So some of the kids, they don't go home that often. So that's
Exactly.
definitely a good touch. Yes. Yeah,
Yes,
so I
definitely.
appreciate that. Yeah. So I guess we were asking the audience, what is your staff's recruiting philosophy? We kind of touched on that a little bit. But what do you all plan to also look for? You talked about character and the discipline and that kind of thing. And is there anything else I may have missed on your recruiting philosophy? Like, do you guys do a lot of AAU tournaments, with a lot of film?
We'll be out, AAU this summer. We'll be at high school games when the school year starts. But again, it starts with, watching a player, when we first see a player, just, seeing how they compete on the court, because that's the biggest thing. You want players that are going to compete, even in practice, drills, you want players that are going to compete in drills and try to win those drills, because that's going to translate into the game. And then again, what our style of play is, we want to make sure those players fit our style. We want to run a lot of man, but we'll do zone as well. But we want to make sure the players can, they've got a sense of defense, or they want to play defense versus, just I don't want to say loafing around, but you got to have some.
What you're about to say. You're not going to be the old school Boston Celtics, set up half court and wait on them.
No, we're gonna, we will figure out what the strengths and weaknesses are teams and try to expose that, through, just different defensive tactics. So.
Oh, okay, that's good. Oh, yeah, Lionel did say that. Yeah, I saw some of those too. That you have some offers for some upcoming classes, even a couple years out. So
there's a lot of good players out there. They're as young as 28s, 29s, 30s. And so, I want to put it out there. Hey, PV's noticing you. I know you probably going to get offers from bigger schools or whatever, but PV's out there, you just never know what'll happen. So I will say, I don't want to say I'm going to strictly stick to high school recruiting. I'm going to stick to players that I think that are going to come in and help us win. So it could be a high school player. It could be a transfer player. So just basically who's going to come in and help us win, but have a good approach about it and be of high character and, take care of business in the classroom, be great in the community, just a overall, great player in person.
Oh, that's good. So did you notice, have you had any luck with the area schools, like just up the road, Cypress, that kind of thing? I know the football coach, and no knock on anybody previously, but he said that some of those schools weren't even aware of Prairie View and the nice facilities. They kind of knew the school was there, but they didn't know actually how nice it was.
Yeah, no, we've reached out to, I've got some relationships with some coaches in Cypress. So, once campus gets back, students get back on campus, we're definitely going to have high school coaches out with their teams, bring them out to games, have some games where it is open to the high schoolers, their teams to come out. We definitely want them on campus. Whenever there's tournaments close to PV, I know there's usually some AAU tournaments down in Bryan. And so we've been talking to teams and coaches trying to get, while they're playing in College Station in Bryan, just come down, check out campus while you guys are in the area before, they head back home. So we'll definitely be bringing high schoolers on campus throughout the year.
Yeah, and I saw Lionel was asking, what pitch are you giving to players that you are going after? Besides facilities, what else do we kind of give to them?
I think what I'm telling them is, the biggest thing is the opportunity to really play and build and build your own legacy, because we're building a team. So there's opportunity to play, there's opportunity to build your legacy and show people who you are as a player and a person. I know within this landscape of NIL and collective, as much as we are going to build that up to be able to compete in that space, I think the biggest thing too is to say, you still got to show your game, and I want to provide a platform for you to show your game. You can go to a school and get all these NIL deals and collectives and still be on the bench. There are schools that are giving collectives with players collecting the check on the bench. You're gonna play. You're coming here to play, produce, and put a winning product on the court so that we can win the SWAC and get to the NCAA tournament.
And does it also help? I know with well, you probably seen it too with football. It's a big deal if you were an NFL person. Do the young ladies, do they like the fact that you and your assistant coach so far are WNBA players, alumni?
I think that may have a factor, or have some factor in it. But I think the biggest thing is, us being good, good people and helping them become, better young women, on top of helping build their skill set so that they can, have an opportunity to maybe go showcase their skills to get invites to professional opportunities. But I won't say that's like the biggest thing, like, oh man, my coach is WNBA player. I won't say that. I just think there's some other things that factor into that, just because, our thing is, we want to build, as much as we want to build you guys as players, we want to make sure you're leaving here as a top student that's, was a striving for, different accolades academically, as well as striving or, creating a network for yourself while you're here at Prairie View. We want to set up mentoring programs and match our players with different professionals within the community and within Houston, as it relates to, maybe their career goals or their hobbies. So that's helping them build a network. So it's not just about basketball. It's just the overall development of our young ladies. Because again, Coach P and I, as being professionals and playing at a high level collegiately, I think that's the one thing that we really appreciate, is the network we were able to make playing professionally and playing at, Texas and Texas Tech.
And I think you can't emphasize enough about the network part, because with AI and so many people trying to get into different careers and things, and these robots they use to screen people, the networking and knowing somebody on the other side is really it's going to really be key, because in the future it's going to, now, not the future, a lot of times you don't get opportunity unless somebody's on the other side and they say, oh, I know that person, they're a good person. And that's back to your character thing. Yeah,
exactly. I think as we're getting to know our young ladies, we want to go out in the community and just not just praise them, but let people know, like, this is what she's really into. This is, what her goals are. Is there any way you can connect her with people that can help her reach this goal?
Okay. And being in the community will help, because that was one of the things I was going to ask you about. But I actually, after Lionel's next question, he wants to know, we able to host any tournaments on campus? I haven't seen that before, so I don't know if that's any kind of obstacle or if that's been mentioned to you.
I will say we can do like team camps, but I want to say there was NCAA passed a rule a few years ago that we can't have like AAU tournaments on campus, because when I first started when I first started coaching, there were AAU tournaments on college campuses, but I believe there was a rule that was passed that that's impermissible now. But, team camps, we won't have a team camp this year, but next year definitely would love to have a team camp and try to get, a lot of teams from the surrounding area and Houston area and, within, outskirts of Texas, within Texas or Louisiana, come down to our team camp.
And next thing was, what do you think of the current roster, and did anyone stand out so far, and how do you see your staff developing some of the current people we have?
Well, we had 4 returners that were on the roster, with Crystal Schultz returning. That was SWAC Freshman of the Year. And then CJ Wilson returning, who was the second leading scorer. So, really excited about those two staying and, wanting to help build the program. And then Layla Robinson and Janiyah Polk, they returned as well. I know they had limited action last year, but, just excited about them because they're really good kids. And then the incoming freshmen that the previous staff had signed, I do recall seeing a couple of them play throughout the year. And so I'm excited about them as well, because I have seen them play. Funny story, one of the incoming freshmen, Preston Young, I remember her when she was like in 4th or 5th grade because she went to my son's school in Houston. And I remember seeing her, I think it was like 5th grade, and she was just this long, lanky kid. And I'm sitting here like,
right.
Was this tall 5th grader walking around St. Mary's? Like, I need to get her to camp. When I was at Houston, I was like, I need to get this kid to camp because she's like almost 6 foot and she's in 5th grade.
Wow.
Right. So then when I was announced as the coach, her stepdad called and I was like, get out of here. This is wild that, we are reconnecting like this. So, and then I saw her play when she was at Shadow Creek last playoff. So I'm excited about the incomers and our returners as well. And then with our new, we got 2 new signees that have come on from the Houston. One's from Houston and one's from Waco. Both come from winning programs, been to state, so they know what it takes to win. Yeah. So Taya.
Yeah, that's them. Yeah.
Yeah. Alicia, coming from Waco, La Vega. Her coach has done a really great job building that program. He builds winners there, and they've been to state several times. So excited about her and what she's going to bring. And then Taya, a big that, I was surprised she was still, out there when I got her information. So she, Taya is like 6'2" post that also is coming from Summer Creek winning program. I know one of her former high school coaches that, she makes sure her kids leave being dogs on the court. So, yes, both of them, going to bring that dog mentality when they get to PV.
Now, I did have a question, and that's crazy because Elvin asked the question I was coming to next. Do you have any ideas? Because as you're aware, they separated the men's and the women's game days.
Right.
So the kind of have to, get the crowd there for each one. And I know last year was a little adjustment of people knowing that the women not playing with the men. So do you have any ideas on getting more visibility and the people knowing that you're playing on this night and not on men?
Well, I definitely think, at least for the students, when school's back in, I'm going to be on campus, visiting classes. My first couple of weeks at PV, I was walking through campus and I heard about Hump Day on Wednesday. So Coach Ty's going to be at Hump Day, getting the games. And there was one other day, there was a group of students, at least 100 students, just randomly doing line dances. It was a Thursday afternoon. So I'm going to get out on campus, weekly. And I'm going to take a grassroots approach where, I'm going to be out, my staff's going to be out promoting weekly, getting out there, as well as, getting ideas from marketing. But I just think, what brings fans is winning and bringing, some excitement to the games. And so that's what we're, going to work on doing I want to recruit some students to be ambassadors for our team that can help, us recruit fans and students throughout the weeks, throughout the season. So, we got some things that we're, getting on paper and trying to formulate plans around. So that's definitely on the on my to-do list. But
I have to ask
old school winning is gonna bring fans. So we get out there and win some games. You're gonna get some fans out there.
Well, that sounds good because I know my son likes the WNBA and he likes the women college. He's a junior at Prairie View, so my youngest. So I have to tell him about that so he can make sure and keep up with y'all.
Yeah, please. So, and if he wants to be an ambassador, please send him my way so we can get this group of kids out and get these students out to our games.
Yeah, because I think, like you said, what is your approach to making sure you're turning around and do some winning? Because I think that really helped the volleyball team. They went from not really being seen, but when they were winning, people figured out when they were playing and came.
Right.
So,
I think it helps when you keep a lot of homegrown kids, because they'll bring their their families to support. But just getting those players that are going to help you win and produce success and get to those championship games and get to those tournaments. You've got to recruit. Like I said, it never stops. So you're definitely trying to get those players in so that you can have that success, which will bring those fans. But I do think also, bringing in a lot of good kids that are within the area for their families to come, that helps bring in more fans as well.
Yeah. So have you looked at any areas that I didn't think of, like maybe some of the areas that are north of Hempstead or any of those kind of areas? I'm not familiar with that kind of area, but I know they're not that far away, like Brenham, or I don't know if it's any hotbeds over that way in Montgomery counties and over that way.
Yeah, I think as we go into the AAU season, I'll be able to really figure out where some of those kids that are, within those areas that don't get a lot of attention. Because during this period, we've been trying to turn over every stone for players to, complete our roster. But, as the summer goes by and going to the fall, once we start connecting with these high school coaches in the area, and we get a lot of texts about kids, a lot of emails about kids. So just really following through and checking out those kids will help us as well.
Okay. And what are your goals for this year with the team? And what would you say was, a successful first year?
I think the goals, for one, for us to win, we have to be connected and united as a team. So I think one of the main goals is, building a real strong sisterhood within our team so that we are able to handle success and adversity throughout the season. Now, if you're looking at the stat sheet, getting, winning most of, winning our conference games, winning the SWAC would be awesome. And that's a goal, we're going to work towards that. That's, that first year, that's a goal that we're working towards. I think the preseason schedule that we're setting up, it'll prepare us for those challenges. I think the games are games that, we can compete in and, maybe even take the W's in some of them. So, that's just the biggest thing. But I think just building a strong unit so that we are prepared to handle, a lot of success and adversity we'll have in the season. But, my goal, I'm trying to win the SWAC the first year. So I set the bar high so that, we're going to get there. You set it high. That means if you don't meet it, you don't fall too low. So.
And which teams would you say, and I know you haven't had a chance to really get a lay of the land, but just from a cursory look, who would you say are the your biggest challenges as far as achieving those goals?
Well, from watching film from last year and kind of looking how teams kind of rolled throughout the season, I'll say it's I don't want to say it's like wide open, but I think every night it
It's a
could
lot of
be
parity, isn't it?
yeah, any given night a
Yep.
team can upset a preseason pick. Just because even last year when I was at Houston, we played Mississippi Valley. And when we played them, we caught them at a challenging moment in their season. But then they finished off very, very strong. And I was like, wow, they finished really strong in the SWAC. So I just think, at any given night, it just depends, again. And that's the thing we have to tell our teams, it's you got to show up and you got to bring your A game every night. If you really want to win this, you can't take any nights off.
Oh, I got one good one I want to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Some coaches like to keep some people maybe not quite in there. So as far as gameplay, how deep do you like to go into the bench?
Again, that's hard for me to say right now because I'm still building the team. But I think typically, obviously, your preseason schedule helps you determine that.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Because you notice who's producing, who can handle moments, who do you want at the end of the game? What's that 5 you want on the court at the end of the game? So I can't answer that right now, but come November, December, I can be like, okay, I'm probably going to go this deep. But you just hope that throughout the season, even in conference, that your team is competing so hard and dominating so hard that you can, clear your bench. But I think it's hard to say right now.
And do you have any, you might not know, but do you have any idea of how soon the school will announce, the rest of your staff, or at least the bulk of your staff as we go along?
Yeah, no, we're working on that. I've always been told, hire slow, and because you just don't want to, because I've gotten plenty of emails and texts, from people to look into. But I had a list going into when the position was presented. It's one thing when throughout the middle of the year, like, oh, this job's going to open up, then you can start prepping people. Then it's another where it's like, oh, it just opened. Like, okay, let me.
It's like real, man.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. So there was there were some individuals that I called, and I've gone after some really great candidates, and they've had some really, they were very, listening, they were excited about this opportunity, but then something big comes up, like, I lost one to a Big 12 school and an SEC school. Yeah, so and I'm excited for them because it's a great opportunity. I can't knock it, and it's like, okay, I can't compete with that. So I'm wishing you the best. I'm always going to follow your career. And then some, just certain life situations, made them choose, make different decisions. But I'm waiting to hear back from a couple of individuals on the position. Yeah. So hopefully, by the end of the week, I can finish up my staff. So,
yeah, but that's good because you losing potential candidates to a Big 12 school lets us know that you're not just looking for the low hanging fruit,
right? Yeah,
you're looking for some quality.
Yeah, I'm being really intentional. Just trying to make sure the individuals, what they bring, from a basketball standpoint, but also from a personal development standpoint, because again, we're developing young ladies. And so I want these people to also be able to, assist with that and be integral in the development of our young ladies.
Oh, okay. Okay. And is it a specific model of type of staff you want for the rest of your staff?
Not really. I think, with Coach P playing in WNBA, it's great. And then, the last two spots I'm trying to fill. And in my Dobo, she is a former player. I coached her at U of H. So and she's from Dallas. And so, helping her with her development. But the last two assistant spots, again, it's just they're both different in their basketball, what they will bring basketball wise. But the biggest thing is just, good character people that are going to help, with other things other than basketball. Cause it's more than basketball. Again, it's
It sure is.
managing, it's managing these young 18 to 22-year-olds and
Right.
helping
Making
develop.
sure the transcript is good, making sure they get the housing, make sure they get the
everybody's
campus.
crossing their T's and dotting their I's and following, following the NCAA rules, being compliant, people
It's
you
a
can
lot.
trust. It is, and the biggest thing is trust too. You just, people that I can trust, that I, not to say I know them like we're friends or anything, but I know of them and I know people that know them. So there's got to be a trust factor there too.
Okay. And then I know we talked a lot about your defense because that's my favorite part. But your offensive philosophy, is it more inside out or outside back in to the offense?
So I'll say, not to go back to defense, but defense will spur our offense. I don't want to run a lot of sets because I want us to be free and run and play. But I'll say, it'll be equal opportunity. We'll say that equal opportunity. If we got a post that's killing it, I'm going to keep throwing the ball inside and let her keep killing it. But if it's the guards that are outside, then we'll run a lot of things that are for our guards to keep producing. So.
And I think Lionel had another question. He's probably getting toward the end. What resources have the university given you for the staff? NIL or just things in general for the program?
I do know that the athletic department does have some NIL opportunities for the student athletes in general. From talking with AD Golf, that's one of our, one of the things we're really trying to build up is, creating more relationships for more NIL opportunities and trying to create a collective so that, we can compete in that space that we're in as far as it pertains to what the landscape is like right now in college athletics. So, and that's, in full transparency, that's just, we are still trying to build that up. So, but, he's got a good plan in place and, we're definitely bringing ideas on how we can keep, help increase that and, utilizing relationships that, we've been able to form throughout our collegiate coaching career that can help us build on that.
And another question from the audience, your top 5 women players. I'm not sure if he means college or on our team. Or just on our team or in college in general. I guess he means top 5 on our team. I'm not sure. Elvin, you might have to clarify that if you mean top 5 on our team or just in
WNBA players or just in general women's basketball players.
Yeah.
I'm old school, I'm old school. So I love some, Cheryl Miller, Cheryl Swoops.
Oh, yeah, there you go. In general. Yeah, so he means all the time.
Cheryl Miller, Cheryl Swoops, Cynthia Cooper.
Coach Coop.
Yeah, she's because you can't knock that competitive spirit out of Coop, man. She's a competitor in everything. Let me see. I love watching Maya Moore play, just because she's just, it's just pure and she wanted to win every time she played. And let's see who else. Let's see, Swoops, Coop, Cheryl Miller, Maya Moore, and Becky Hammond. I love watching Becky play. Yep.
And see, I was convinced that Cheryl Miller used to beat up her brother, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, I'm sure she did. I'm pretty sure she did.
She was a little better than him, so
Right.
I think she beat him up. Elvin, you late. We talked about the rise of women's basketball, but yeah, and like Lionel said, Coach Krupp was great on campus, and she did, like you said, with the other coach. She kind of looked out for the young ladies, and put in the extra, and like you had mentioned, oh yeah, that's a good one too. Based on our current facilities, is there anything we need to remain competitive in today's landscape? Anything we need to add or change, you would think?
I think when I came on campus is beautiful. This is such a beautiful campus. Even the dome is a great facility. I like intimate arenas like the dome. I think if there's one thing, getting that support to build practice facilities for men and women's basketball, just because we share with volleyball, men and women's basketball. And I think a lot of campuses deal with that, that I've noticed, especially, when there's inclement weather, you have to bring in other sports. They may have to use the court, get some indoor work in. Yeah. So I think that's probably maybe one thing that we, that could help is, practice facility. But, I think a lot of schools, that's on their wish list as well.
So I guess if it did get crunched, I guess I'm curious. I'm not sure if you would know if you all can use the facility that's right behind the Baby Dome. If, like you said, another team had to come in because of the inclement weather, will they let you guys run some sets there or not?
Yeah,
sizable.
there's the rec center right behind the dome. So yeah, we're able to use the rec and use some courts on the rec within the rec center. But again, within the dome, just the locker room looks great. I think the locker room is nice. They're about to redo the court. They're doing some upgrades in the weight room, and there's some other spaces within the Baby Dome that they're about to upgrade, and so that it can accommodate, volleyball and a couple others, some other sports within the athletic program.
Well, I know you like the volleyball too, so peeking over the volleyball court. But is there anything that we didn't cover that you like PV Nation to know about you or yourself or your team or Coach P or anything like that?
I just want to express that, we are really, really excited to be Panthers. We're excited for what we're building at Prairie View. And, we just hope that you guys come out, support. Yes. And we're just looking forward to, building something special for the university, for the alum, and for the fans. So it's exciting times for us and for the program.
That sounds good. Is there a hashtag we need to look out for the new women's basketball? Or you guys, I know like football teams.
We'll have that. I will have that in the fall once I get my whole staff in, because I definitely want to make sure, everyone's involved in, the branding of our program. And so, once the fall hits, we'll definitely have that.
Well, you tell AD Golf to make sure they introduce you guys at a football game sometime. And you give us that hashtag then and put it up on the scoreboard.
Oh, we'll do. We'll do that. We'll do that.
But I follow you anyway on Twitter, so I'll be on the lookout.
Yeah, no, we're working on that.
And wanted to see, Lionel, you still there? Did you have any follow-ups before we wrap up? Because I know Coach got to get back to her regular schedule. Well, we really appreciate you taking that time out too, because I know it's a lot during recruiting time.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys bringing me on, and I've been I've got several people wanting to do interviews and podcasts, and I was like, I'm just trying to get above water first and just get things set, because it's been a whirlwind, but it's been a great thing, and I'm just happy that I was able to get on. So.
Well, that's good. Well, just be on the lookout.
Thank you so much, Coach Dillard. We appreciate it.
No, thank you guys.
But thank you for coming. Lionel, did you have a follow-up? Sorry, I put my Jackson State thing in there.
No, I was just saying thank you, Coach Tai, man. We really do appreciate it, and we can't wait to get out and support the team this upcoming fall.
Yeah.
And obviously, we listen, we stand behind you, like you say. Hey, you ain't got to tell me but one time. You know what I'm saying? What the goal is, I scream from the mountaintops. All right, you know what I'm saying? So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
thank you so much, Carrie. Appreciate you for holding the fort down too this evening. And again, PV Nation, man, make sure you locked in with Coach Tai, on Twitter and on Instagram, as well as the women's basketball team pages on all of those platforms. Let's continue to show our support. Let's continue to flood love when they sign and bring in these new commitments as well. Let them know what PV Nation is all about. But until next time, man, we appreciate you guys, and we'll holler.
Thank you.
Peace.